I'm obese, shoot me in the belly.
Look at all the space I'm creating, everybody.
Bad monkey, bad monkey. Oh, you got baited so hard. I don't think I can handle any more of this bot gameplay.
Spylo.
Yo mates, hopefully we don't have any issues. So here's the deal. So I'm gonna have to give a little bit of an introduction here on the black screen, okay? The last 2 streams I've had, I've started OBS. The camera worked fine. I check all the scenes. I press start streaming on the starting screen. I go to my transition thing with the Batman thing, and then I click to my proper or hotkey my proper scene so you can see my beautiful face. And then every time I do that, for whatever reason, even though it works fine before I press start streaming, it shows no camera input. And then I have to restart stream and then it works fine. It's happened twice in a row. Twice in a row now. So will it be a 3rd time or will you actually see my face? It worked. Okay. I was actually pretty sure it wasn't going to work. I don't know what's going on. OBS is like one of those programs that I can't complain because it's free, but it's actually infuriating how many bugs are involved in that stupid thing.
Hattie is so inspirational on Rain.
Thank you.
Congrats on the win.
I appreciate
so
it.
Proud of you.
Yeah, Hattie did a good job.
Maybe this year is a bounce back season.
Maybe that's something that we can do in a few minutes after I finish monologuing. We can talk a little bit about the game. Obviously, I can't do any Overwatch League analysis. I can't answer too much about the game. The Overwatch scene has just started, but I can give you some information, answer some questions. We can discuss our philosophy about things just a little bit. Maybe we can provide some insight. But yeah, today I'm honestly not really sure. Today is probably gonna be a short stream. It's gonna be a little bit more popcorny. We'll see if we get any Hammer Time stuff. We'll see if we have any questions that we can answer. Maybe we can talk about patch notes. I'm not really sure exactly what today's stream is gonna be. We're just gonna kind of free flow and see what happens. But good to see everybody. I appreciate the sub. Hope to not see my face. Yeah, same. Hey, Money Folder, good to see you, mate. Drop hi. I appreciate it, Money Folder. Good to see you. Hope you're living your best life as the resident Twitter troll. It's glad to see that my coaching did some good and made you bitter and resentful and also sarcastic and extremely humorous. So well done. Yeah, anyway, but congratulations, by the way, to Cager as well for 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. Big stuff from him. He's now officially significantly bigger than I am. I don't think I even have 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. Hello. Okay, there we go. My mic was still plugged in. The red light was still on, but apparently it wasn't transferring. That's another OBS bug that I only exclusively have with OBS. I never have that problem with Discord, never anything else I use my mic for, just OBS. So this is a Scuff Streams day. But yeah, all this work that Baggins has done, he's done all this stuff. It looks really great. You guys can see, let me make sure I'm on the right scene. This looks cool, and then obviously some of the video editing on the recent video, so that was awesome. But yeah, good to see everybody. Hello, Hottie. Good to see you. Shut up, Prime. Do you coach from afar from Spitfire? Yes, I don't have to, but I'm choosing to because I'm married to a fool, and I'm also, I got a house, so I'm planning on visiting at least a couple times. Hottie's always getting on my case, so I'm sure I'll visit. Need sub guys for your poor gift, you please. Nice. you think Tracer's going to get a buff? I'm honestly not too sure. I feel like she probably needs at least a little bit of a buff. Like, they nerfed her damage from 6 to 5. If they get to like 5.5, or maybe they could tighten her spreads that she's better at range. Like, I don't really know. It's like actually criminal, like how bad she is, given the fact that Overwatch 2 is like the perfect playground for Tracer. Like, Tracer should be hard meta right now. And I get that's probably why she was nerfed, but I mean, I think she's a fun hero to watch. So thank you, Baggins. Congratulations, Chatty. What's that dynamic look like? It's actually not that bad. I think it would be very, very difficult to head coach from home, because a lot of the psychological leadership and all that kind of things that Chris provides, he needs to do in person. I think he's done a great job of that in person, but at least on my side of things, it's not been too bad. Basically, my responsibilities mostly are griping and yelling to Chris and telling him how we should be doing things. And then Chris can kind of filter out, what he wants to do, what he doesn't think is as much of a priority. And then I do almost all the one-on-ones exclusively. I do almost all the one-on-one feedback, which really depends week to week on who needs the most, what are our priorities. But I usually work with about every single one of the players at least once per week, sometimes more. Yes, that emote is amazing. Isn't that emote amazing? That's worth the price of the subscription alone. That's got to be one of my favorite emotes. But yeah, Hadi played well yesterday. I think actually one of the interesting things about yesterday, and I think Hadi will actually back me up on this, I think we played worse yesterday than we played against Shock as a whole. I think, Shock, we definitely, especially the first map, had our hiccups in terms of how we played the last map as well. But I think like we were a little more frantic yesterday. I'm not sure if it was the nerves and the increased pressure of a match that we really feel like we should have won. And then I also think that I'm not so sure. We just felt more frantic and a little bit sloppier yesterday. So I'm happy for the win for sure. But, we can't pretend that it was a good performance from us. I think Vancouver definitely have their struggles. And I don't want that to be an ego thing like, we 3-0'd them, but we were playing badly. We were not playing well. There were definitely moments where I think we played well. I think Oasis Gardens was a more realistic performance from us. I think our Kings Row attack was okay, but even our defense, like our first point defense, wasn't even us doing a lot of things right. It was just Vancouver doing a lot of things wrong. So Shock played very well. I think their Eichenwald was one of the best maps, if not the best map we've played this season. Obviously a comp diff. I mean, actually, let's just talk about that stuff right now. So if you guys have any questions about the Spitfire season so far, again, I'm limited in what I can answer. But if it's something I can talk about, then I'm going to be able to talk about it. Eichenwald from Shock was obviously extremely clean. Just a comp diff. We know that. Coaches know that. Players know that. It is something that we are aware of. Whenever you're playing a brawl comp, attacking Eichenwald second into dive is going to be hard, and it's going to be especially hard because there's no matrix to allow you to rotate as easily. And we'd found ways of working a way around that, but it always had been difficult. We'd obviously capped second many, many times, but it was always really hard, and I think there's something that we kind of came to the realization is that sometimes playing to your strengths can be overdone. So, it's unfortunate, but I think we've been able to adjust from that, and I'm sure we'll continue to adjust moving forward. We're confident though on things like Lijiang Tower, things like Oasis, Kings Row. We're not scared. We were not scared of dive on those maps. We think our comp is as good, or certainly the gap is a lot tighter. I mean, we're not kidding ourselves if we're saying that on a monkey comp with Genji Soldier isn't good. Of course it's good. Most maps it's probably better than Rhine. But again, we want to lean into our strengths and we want to find a way to play. And I think the style that we play is something that most teams are not going to be able to understand and do. I think we have a good understanding of how to play the matchup in terms of how we control space. Okay. Titans are really struggling. I'm not sure how Titans are in scrims because obviously we haven't scrimmed them for some time because we were playing up against them, but they really struggled that match. And I feel really bad for their players because a lot of their players are really good guys and they're good players too. They have a good roster. I'm sure they'll bounce back. Attacking Ike B on Rush is... it's really just about getting cart pressure and allowing some of us to rotate into castle and pressure off their high ground. We didn't do a really good job of it, but to be fair, it is unbelievably hard and requires either a mistake from the enemy team or something clutch from us, and that just didn't roll out that way. So yeah, we're aware that it's extremely difficult and maybe not even be the most optimal thing, even for a team that wants to play more Orion. What was it like forming the first metas of Overwatch 2? Did you take a lot of stuff from Overwatch 1? In terms of forming metas, a little bit. Most of forming the metas was just basically people go like, oh, this hero is really strong, so let's play heroes that make sense of that. I spoke with you guys a lot about Zarya and how Zarya, especially in the early phases of Overwatch 2, was really strong because I think she maintained charge a little bit more than she does now. But also the big thing was that you could double bubble people back to back with no cooldown. There's a delay now before you can bubble the same person again. There was no delay. And so what happened is people go, okay, well, hey, that's obviously going to be super busted with what DPS? What DPS is going to be crazy with 2 bubbles? Well, obviously Reaper, right? So they played Reaper, and then you're like, okay, well, what also strong? Sombra was also strong at the time. Tracer was also relatively strong at the time. And then obviously you play heroes that play around that, and some teams were playing Moira to avoid the Reaper. Some teams were playing Ana to nano their Reaper, which, I mean, I distinctly remember nano Reaper was like, you couldn't peel it. Like, it was just unpeelable with bubbles. So that was really kind of what formed the initial meta. And then obviously Sojourn comes in, and then all of a sudden Sojourn is also extremely strong at the initial. So people are just playing Bubble, Zarya, and Sojourn, and like I spoke with you guys about this. It's really not metas are not. Very rarely are they shaped by the synergy of a bunch of heroes. It's usually 1 or 2 heroes that are really strong, and then you just pick heroes that are good, that fit that hero well. Like, for example, if you look at the meta right now, I think obviously Winston is not necessarily a weak tank, but it's more along the lines of Soldier's really strong, Ana's quite strong. This actually, the recent meta might actually be a good example of where it's actually a lot of heroes that are in the meta are actually strong. But in many previous metas, for example, like we've talked about goats many times, and even the Reaper comp, for example, the Zarya Reaper was not a very strong. Reaper isn't a very strong hero. In fact, Reaper's been nerfed in Overwatch 2, but he was the hero that most benefited from the strengths of Zarya, so he's going to be played. Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, that's the thing with the big yak. I didn't know all the people being like, don't they know Ryan is bad and Eichenwald second? I mean, that's just, you kind of, at this point in my life in competitive Overwatch, I don't even watch most Overwatch. I don't watch back our stream to see what the casters say. Casters, unfortunately, in the Overwatch league. Thank you, Savage Drum.
Congrats on the dub.
I appreciate that. I'm not going to paint with a broad brush here, but I think a lot of casters in Overwatch League don't understand the meta, don't really, and if they, as far as, I don't think they put enough effort into understanding like the strategy behind things. Clearly what we were playing was not meta, but obviously we have a strategy and they just don't understand the game. Now I will agree if they want to second guess playing the Ryan comp, but I think that's lazy casting if you just call it bad and then that's like your spiel. And you see that a lot. We saw a lot of, I watched a little bit of casting on, what was it? Actually, you know what? I'm not going to even say the game. That would be too direct. But I've seen a lot of matches that were not ours where casters are like, well, what do they think they're doing? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, obviously they know that. It's a lot harder in the heat of a battle. I think one of the interesting things.
Good to be back. London's 66% win rate in their last 3
yeah,
matches.
easy. Yeah, obviously. Thank you for the sub recently. I think that the difficult thing is that people want to comment. Like, it's the same thing as like, where's the meme here? I'm actually going to find the meme to show you guys. It's not a new thing, though. It's not like this is an esports exclusive thing. Everybody's dogmatic. Everybody speaks from a tone of ignorance. This is just like how sports and competition works. Like this is you guys can relate to this. I hope this is the right that I tab over right. Yeah. I mean, this is this is casters in a nutshell. This is Plat Chat in a nutshell. I mean, that's just life. You just have to ignorance, and it is what it is. And sometimes they make fair critiques. Sometimes not so much fair critiques. But you just take the good with the bad. That's why you just don't listen to this stuff. You don't read Plat Chat. I've already read a couple of takes that were just brain-numbingly dumb. You just don't read it. What's the biggest DPS being played right now? Probably Soldier, which was unexpected. But I think the big thing is that since Tracer has been nerfed, another flanker definitely had to take that place, considering there's one fewer tank to control space, and that was Soldier. Could you explain how Zarya Genji Soldier comp functions? A little bit, yeah. It's essentially just you have your DPS take and control angles, and then they have bubbles to control those angles. That's basically it in a nutshell. You play Genji Soldier because the other DPS aren't as good at controlling angles with bubbles. For example, Tracer's nerfed, Sombra's trash. Soldier versus a bubble. Soldier with a bubble is going to destroy McCree, or Cassidy rather. Without going into too much detail, it's just basically control space with bubbles on your DPS. You look for engages, you look for duels, that kind of thing. Do you think Xin buffs will bring them into relevancy? I think there's definitely a high chance of that. I think everyone's obviously talking about the Boop, which definitely gives him more options against dive. And obviously the melee damage certainly doesn't hurt. But I think the major buff that he received was actually the extra 25 HP or 25 shields. That feels like a lot. That's going to feel like a lot in the long run for sure. Casters are clueless, just a struggle though, since it's hard to read things during life. Of course, I think a part of the thing is you have to understand that casters have to create a storyline. I think unfortunately some of those storylines affect how fans view players. I think a lot of the times when you start to cast, oh no, they made a mistake, then you start to look for that player as mistakes, and you interpret anything and everything that happens in the game as a result of whatever that player is doing. There were times yesterday where I feel like people were going to make fun of False and Masa, but I think that's unfair. I think False and Masa were, a victim of some lack of coordination or lack of communication or a misunderstanding. And as it always happens in any organized sport, somebody's going to look extra stupid. Thank you, anyways.
My sub-month count.
Yeah, and you're pretty good at that. I appreciate it. But somebody's going to look stupid when there's a miscommunication. Somebody's going to be the scapegoat. And I think Masa, False were the scapegoats from yesterday. But False is a good player. Masa is a good player. I mean, they're great players. And so unfortunately what's going to happen is people's perception of those players might shift, but it might not even be that player's fault. And I think we saw that a little bit with Hadi last season, who definitely made a lot of mistakes, definitely fed a lot. But again, you have to go, why were those mistakes being made? And a lot of times you're not going to really get to the root issue, which I think is unfortunate. But again, yeah, I understand why casters create storylines. It is entertaining. I think my frustration is that I don't believe enough casters actually understand the meta. They don't understand Overwatch well enough. And I think if more of them spent time in scrims or talking with coaches, especially in the off season or really during the middle of the season, I think the level of casting would improve. I think you look at a caster like Jake, even a caster like Sideshow, and their understanding of the game allows them to cast it in a better manner. Again, not everybody has to cast like that, but I think you're crazy. How many of you guys have heard of Tony Romo from the NFL casting? And Peyton Manning as well is another recent one who's done a lot of casting. Professional players who've gone into casting, and people eat it up, man. They eat it up. They're charismatic, but they also know the game really well, and it makes it so much more fun to watch. Thank you, S7R. I'm sorry. I really appreciate it. Would you watch from time to time a co-stream like the ones Deepe does? I would watch one that Deepe does, sure, because I trust Deepe to understand the game well. But I think it depends on what you're looking for in a co-stream. I think Avast is a great example of a co-stream where I think Avast has a pretty good understanding of the game. Maybe not super up to date, but he's pretty good understanding the game, and some of his guests do, but some of his guests clearly don't. So you get a mixed bag, but it's really what you want. Avast is clearly a very popular stream for a reason, so I'm sure there's a lot of entertainment value. It makes it more fun to watch. If you were to drink every time the casters get something wrong, you'd be dead by the end of the series. Yeah, that's fine. Do Hammond Shields give ult charge now in Overwatch 2? I don't believe so. No, I don't think any temporary HP gives ult charge. I know Hammond Shields did not in Overwatch 1. And actually, this is the interesting thing that a lot of people forget. Lucio's Sound Barrier doesn't give ultimate charge anymore. I don't know if you guys watched the end of our Shock match on Gibraltar, but we actually lost a fight to that. Because they beat Engage, we beat Poco, who had overextended a little bit, and he's 98%, 99% on Grav, and he dies because he's beaming Lucio beat charge. He doesn't end up finishing the Grav because he's beaming Lucio Sound Barrier for about 2 or 3 seconds, and we don't even get our Grav off. It's actually super tragic. Do the casters have access to coaching so they can understand the thought process of pros? I'm not sure. I am not aware. So I don't want to speak for a lot of casters because I obviously don't know what all they do. I do know that in alpha stage, a lot of casters were spectating scrims. I do know, I'm fairly confident that that died off very quickly, and I've not heard of that happening in a while. But I might be wrong. And that's what kind of annoys me. But I'm gonna heavy grain of salt with that because I'm not 100% sure. Why so much Lucio Ana? Because they're both really quite strong right now. It's not so much that Lucio Ana are oppressively strong right now. I will say that Ana definitely benefited. One thing that I missed is the losing another tank definitely opened up more opportunities to land nades. I think that's something that I missed a little bit with my predictions. Lucio also received a little bit of buffs, but mostly it's been the other supports struggle and Lucio Ana don't struggle as much, rather that the others, they're just so much more oppressively stronger. Why is Sombra not played? She was really strong early in alpha, but the hack time got nerfed. Really the hack time was a big one. The hack, how long it takes to get a hack off was a big one. She received a lot of nerfs in alpha, which really hurt her efficiency. You figured out push yet? Do you think there's more depth that you just haven't understood? No, I think push is mostly figured out. There's definitely a little bit of depth there in terms of like when it's okay to lose fights, when it's okay to use ultimates. There are some times when you don't want to push, very rarely, but sometimes. But there's not a whole lot of nuance. Mostly it's about playing around your caps, like trying to get the cap, trying to play for lead, knowing when you can lose fights, that kind of thing. How come Sombra's bad? Hack from Invis is good, but it only lasts 1 second and it only buffs the Sombra damage / gives scouting after that. It's also easily interruptible because the hack is longer in Overwatch 2 in terms of the cast time than it is in Overwatch 1. And EMP, the new EMP is unquestionably weaker than old EMP. It's not bad, but it's unquestionably weaker than old EMP. I appreciate the fact that the rework made it so that you don't lose your abilities for like however many seconds, but she's definitely a little weaker. Were we bad casters when we duoed? No, we were perfect, brother. I've considered a casting career after coaching. Who knows? Maybe we'll see. I've loved casting every time I did it. By the way, I'm way behind in chat, so I apologize if I'm just catching up. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, though, Bradley, if you think Masa is bad. I mean, that's the problem, is everyone has recency bias. Masa doesn't all of a sudden turn from, like, an S-tier Lucio with Atlanta Reign to an F-tier Lucio with the Vancouver Titans. Players are a result of their environment. Good players will often look a lot worse than they actually are, and average players will often look a lot better than they are. I think Masa is probably somewhere in between. And I think that's the case for really any player in any situation. Yeah. Thoughts on push? It's okay. I actually don't hate it as much. I know some people are a little bit grouchy about it, but I think it's all right. It's definitely better than 2CP. Has some problems with length because it is a little bit snowbally because it's so short, it's sometimes hard to catch up. Excuse me, but it's not bad. You think Soldier's nerf on live will affect his relevance in the meta? I mean, almost certainly, yeah. I think, again, you don't just look at the nerf to Soldier, you also look at the buff to Zen, and you think about that as well. Avril, yeah, I love Avril. Avril's a good guy. I think Avril does a good job. Have I ever had contact with the observers? No, I don't know any observers. Would you do a co-stream with John? Probably not. I don't think I'd do a co-stream, period. It really depends, but I don't really feel comfortable doing co-streams and like trashing other teams or offering too much like not trashing, but like I saw the other day that there's some people in Overwatch League that were on co-streams and I like couldn't believe it. Like even if you're not like a coach or a player, that just seems crazy to me, but you know, everyone has their own reasons, but I personally could never do that. I mean, maybe I could at some point, but no, certainly not right now. What do you think of Florida's re-attack? I didn't actually watch much. I watched a little bit of Overwatch League, but I was busy, honestly, relaxing and then also studying a little bit of our footage as well. Am I on contract not to stream during Overwatch League? No, I'm not. So I'm not actually contracted with Overwatch League. I'm contracted with C9, so that's never been a problem. Why are they playing BAP instead of Ana since Rush still plays so much split? Because BAP has damage, which helps versus dive better than Ana. Like obviously nading yourself is sometimes even better than Lamp, but BAP is able to shoot Genji and shoot Soldier and shoot Monkey, which is very helpful at preemptively defending against dive. Ana doesn't do as much damage, and also BAP has a much easier time of caring for the Rhine. Ana's much easier, like Monkey Bubble, and then your Rhine dies, essentially, if you're playing Ana. Thank you, Jat. I appreciate. Are the next games playing the current patch of the beta? I actually don't know. I don't 100%. I'll have to double check. What's new EMP now? 25% damage to everybody. And one hack. 1 second hack. You think Paris can bounce back? Yeah, I think Paris can bounce back. I think Paris Mayhem is a good team. I think Mayhem is quite a good team. I think they're solidly mid-table, and they definitely have the capability to punch up in certain circumstances. So just because they beat Paris, Paris isn't down, right? How did another team get away with running Reinhardt? I mean, Reinhardt's not bad. Reinhardt is not super good in the meta right now, but Reinhardt is not a weak hero at all right now. Reinhardt, like, is a good hero. Bap is not a super strong hero. Mei is not a super strong hero right now. The way Backbone plays it feels super strong. But Reinhardt is not at all a super weak hero right now. You see Shaka's title contender season. I don't know. It's honestly hard to say. Like, I hate guessing because it's such a long season, especially this season, guys. We have like 5 months left to go, I think. But I think one thing that impressed me about the Shock is that clearly Kaluj is not a good monkey, and I think Sam was not somebody who would immediately strike you as a great Genji, but they both played so well. They did not just abuse us with mechanics. I think there were definitely some fights where, obviously Finn is going to land a crazy nade or a crazy sleep dart and we're going to lose, or, they're going to do something crazy with Proper. Proper's going to pop off and here and there. But it actually felt like a lot of the fights they won, they just went through good discipline and good fundamentals, which I think is actually a really good sign considering that this meta on paper wasn't actually that super good for them. I mean, maybe I'm not thinking about the roster all the way through, but at least Kaluj, Monkey, Sam, Genji isn't instantly like, oh, that's a great combo there, and yet they definitely made it work. So they were a good team. Noob coach, hey, come on. Yes, you're alive, Dolas. Good to see you, mate. But how Nano is currently used in Allen average. I mean, Nano is just used to push. I think Nano Visor is a little bit more prevalent right now because it's a little bit harder to counter. Beat doesn't consistently counter Nano Visor because you can burn through Beat if you're not well positioned, and it's also like just a lot easier to set up and a lot more consistent. So it's kind of interesting. Do you think Tank's being stronger than any other player on a team will create massive imbalance in ranked game, like if Tank has a Masters tank versus a Plat tank? That's actually an interesting question. I have absolutely no idea. I'm sure that there will be a way that they balance the MMR around that, but that is actually a reasonable concern. Is there anything you would recommend to look out for when watching Overwatch League games and being able to read the game to get a feel for who's good, who does well, who doesn't? I mean, I would obviously always check the positioning, check at how ultimates are being used, check at how people, I mean, it really depends on what you're looking to learn. There's like infinite things to learn. Hair check. There's infinite things to learn. Oh, that's good. Wait, just keep shaking. Oh, that's perfect. You see that? I've got the Korean bowl cut going on here, but it's like more like the bush gone wild. It's not. Oh gosh, that's awful. But we're just gonna let it go. Why haven't we seen Orisa being used so far? She's not that good. She's really well designed, but thank you for the hydrate. But she's not super good right now. I've spoken about this before with Orisa though. Orisa is like one buff away / one 15-year-old OTP who's going to play it in rank for 6 months straight from being good. But right now it's like a huge gamble to put a lot of time into Orisa when there's other tanks that are clearly also strong. And like most Overwatch League teams just don't have the time to take big gambles like that. Why is Ryan good when absolutely everyone pre-beta access thought he is not viable in 5v5? Because Blizzard did a flippin' good job reworking him. The pin cancel, the better pin control, the double fire strike, and the extra HP. I think he got more HP than any other tank. Plus the fact that tanks, the armor rework. I mean, it is like, he does a lot more now. Plus, I forget the Earth Shatter one shot too. It's like the Ryan's weaknesses was inability to control the map, control angles, and actually hold space. But the fact that he's so much tankier, he has 2 fire strikes, which gives him a little bit more range option, and then really the charge and the charge cancel. Like he has mobility. He has actual mobility that's not nearly as punishable as it was before. Yeah. So like, I mean, it was really nice. If Bap has trouble surviving, how replacing him with on a Moira and Brawl? I mean, sometimes it's probably worth looking at. Like if there's an impossible rotate for a Bap, then going Moira is probably fine. But obviously, if you go Moira, you forfeit your ability to actually like poke out and control space, and you now just become a herder Brawl rotate comp, which it's not something you always want to do. Will Sojourn be stable AL pick in future? I don't know. They buffed her again recently. I don't know how much of a buff it is. The right click one is obviously the big one. How much easier is it to land right click, but we'll see. What do you think of Houston going on to play Shotgun Friday? I think Houston's fine. I think Houston is fine. I don't have anything super secret on Houston. Posture check, thank you. Earthshatter one shots. Yeah, point blank. Doesn't it do 250? I think something like that. You've seen the headshot thing. People just get one shot with it. Yeah. Any other last couple of questions that you guys have about the season, the team, general stuff? These have been some good questions. We've been already talking for half an hour, and I haven't even actually officially started anything. Did I do pick'ems? No, I don't do pick'ems. I do not do pick'ems. Are Ball Zen comps viable? I think they're better tanks than Ball right now. But yeah, I mean, they're okay. I mean, they're not bad. I mean, Briggs and both received buffs on beta, so probably, yeah. It's probably, I mean, certainly not at the Overwatch, maybe not the Overwatch League, certainly at other levels. Will I win all Season 5? Of course. Why is Spylo sexy? It's kind of hard to explain. Oh yeah, not with Ball banned though. I mean, I think they fixed that, did they not? I don't know when that's going to do. Pick'ems against their own team, coach them to run Somber Bastion. Yeah. Do you think Ball change will make him playable? I mean, I don't think Ball needs any changes. What the boop? Oh, the boop change. I actually think I've heard that the boop change is a little bit overkill, but we'll see. I don't like that they've done the boop, but I mean, whatever. Will I do an OWL comment stream? Very, very unlikely. Very unlikely. I don't like doing that when I'm actually on an OWL team. Not likely. 3-0 Boston next week. We'll see. I think Boston's a good team. And I think this meta in particular is definitely favorable to them as well. I think they have good main tank options. They have MCD, who I think is quite a good Ana. I think Crimson is also solid Ana as well. A big thing for me is I think Valentine is quite a good Genjin. I think Striker's also quite a good soldier. So I think they have a lot of strengths in this current meta. So we will see. Cheese boop spots are back in the menu. What do you think Dallas did wrong to lose to Houston? I didn't watch the match, to be honest with you. There's so many games to watch, and I'm always trying to prioritize the scouting and the ones that are immediately applicable for me. I did watch a little bit, and it looked like quite entertaining. It could have just been nerves, to be honest with you, mate. I'm not sure. Dallas has been quite strong in scrims, and definitely by scrim bucks, Dallas is the better team. But I mean, Houston made the adjustments, and they performed really well. So I'm not sure. I mean, also you have to consider the stage as well. Like, this wasn't just an official match; it was an official match on stage. That's a whole other animal. So who knows? Maybe there's a mental diff there for at least that game. How do you personally handle these things as one of the bottom teams of the league by the pundits? I mean, personally, I don't really think about it that much. Like, I mean, I go into this season, we know we're a budget team. We know that we're not going to be able to sign proper, and we're not going to be able to sign Finn, and we're not going to be able to sign Showwrong. So there's just a level of expectation. I look at, the situation that we're in terms of our budget, and I set reasonable expectations. And I think, that's something that Chris has kind of hammered into our players really hard, is that at least right now, we are not mechanically the best team in the league, and we're not going to be this season. So our goal is to work towards where we are a better players individually. Obviously that's the goal, but also that we get the teamwork fundamentals as well. So, maybe this season, like, the goal is to always just to be better than we are right now. Whenever people put us at 20th place in power rankings, I'm not sitting there molding. And I'm not even molding if scrims are going really well. Like, there have been a lot of scrims that have gone really, really well, where I think we were, like, the results would have shocked people even on a couple of blocks. But that happens in scrims. And even if that happened consistently, I still wouldn't be upset, because I get it. You look at our roster, we've got a lot of rookies. We've got some players that didn't look great last season. We've got players like Poco, who sat the season out essentially with visa issues. it's not unreasonable to put us at last place, especially when you look at teams that like Vancouver, who are bottom tier, right? But they still have players like Shockwave and Massa on them, right? And solid, great players like Scaripa and so on. So like, I think it's, I think it doesn't really bother me that people put us at last place. It doesn't really bother me that people didn't think we'd beat Vancouver. I get it. Like I get people see a player like Shockwave's caliber and Aspire, who popped off in playoffs last season. So it doesn't bother me. I think it's just about being better every week to week. Pelican had an amazing day. They're not so amazing for their next match. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Did you see Egoist Cat video and supports? Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting. Egoist Cat is never one to shy away from a hot take, and he's got a great mind for it. I don't always 100% agree with him on his stuff, but I definitely think like it forces you to think and reconsider stuff, which I think is like a really, really good thing. And I think he definitely has some good points. No, London did not beat Shock in scrims. We haven't played Shock in scrims because we had them on our first match. But there have been times when we have won scrims against teams that I think would shock people. But then we've also had times where we've just, we've crapped the bad. We've had scrims when we're on our A game in scrims, we can go even with just about anybody. Especially, but it just really depends. Yeah, I'll tell Hadi. I think Hadi actually didn't play as well as he could have yesterday. I think Hadi has another level yet. I promise you guys. We'll see. I don't know if we'll see it this season, but he definitely has another level on both Ryan and Winston for sure. Is London's short-term aim to get into mid-season madness? London's short-term aim is to win the next game. And I'm not saying that to be corny. I mean, it really is to win the next game. I think we look at this block here. Obviously we have a really, really brutal, Atlanta, Houston, I think Gladiators as well. It's going to be rough, right? It's going to be rough. But let's win against Boston. And maybe we pull off an upset in one of the last three teams. Maybe we finish 3-3. Maybe we finish top 7, top 8, something like that. That'd be amazing. But like really one step at a time for us. And I think next series we'll have a slightly easier opponents, so maybe we'll see from there. Hey Reagan, I'm just good to see you, mate. How's the Genji? Yeah, President of the United States, exactly. Yeah. I mean, we work hard. We work really hard. The goal is definitely to do, like, we're realistic with our expectations, but we work pretty hard. I think staff and players have worked quite hard. And constantly reevaluating, constantly pushing ourselves in different directions to try and improve. I think we have a really good roster for that as well. I think there's a lot of great things about our roster, but one of the greatest things is that we definitely have had a lot of hiccups early in the season, things that I'm not going to talk about. But going into the season, like, Hadi is just a real professional. Shax is a real professional. Poco is a complete clown, but again, a real professional. Backbone, Landon are very hungry, great attitudes. Landon is like the complete antithesis of like what you expect the typical NA DGen contenders player to come in. A lot of NA contenders players have like the American Tornado mindset of like hard ego, just going to dominate, maybe a little bit undisciplined, and that works, I guess, if you're, it works if you're super talented, if you put the time in, but he just has the greatest mentality when it comes to improvement. Landon does. It's really quite astonishing. Admiral, good teammate. Like we have a lot of good teammates, a lot of patient players. The team has gotten to be pretty close as well. So I think like we have a lot of good things going for us. And the land diff is just unbelievably helpful. It's not about the ping. The ping is obviously a huge factor for sure compared to last season, but it's a lot more than that. A lot more than that. Is it Shaxx only going to be brought in during Tracer Huns and maybe Cassidy? I mean, we'll see. Obviously, it's very difficult when you have such a great player like Shaxx, who's so consistent, but then Tracer's just not meta. Like, how do you? That's obviously quite difficult. But Shaxx is also the type of player who's going to be able to put in work and learn other things as we see fit. So obviously, it is Chris's call. So we'll see how things go. But I'm sure no matter what happens in terms of meta, we'll find a way to use Shaxx. Yeah, exactly. The first one was really, really important. Beating Vancouver might be the most important game of the season yesterday, and I'm not being facetious about that. I think definitely sets the stage for, if nothing else, the rest of the season. We definitely have already set the bar a little higher than last season. I think that was everybody's goal going into this year, and hopefully we can, well, I'm sure we will steal a few more wins over the course of the season. But again, it's about execution. I don't look at yesterday and I don't feel amazing about yesterday. Of course, he felt good, but then I go back and I look at the replay and I think, ugh. Actually, I think we played a couple maps against Shock better than we did yesterday. We just got a little bit fortunate. So I think the goal is just to play better. Play better. The execution needs to be better. The results will come as a result of the execution improving. I don't look at yesterday and be like, yay, I'm celebrating, we've won, congrats. Like, I'm looking at yesterday and be like, oh, nice job, guys, but wow, we should have been a lot better. Landon is so disciplined. Yeah, he's getting there. I mean, obviously there's a lot to learn. And I think the thing that I've been most impressed with Landon is that he is not a BAP OTP. He has been very, very putting in a lot of hustle and learning other heroes, putting in a lot of work and learning other heroes. He learns quickly too. I think that his mentality is a huge blessing for him, because for somebody who is considered a BAP OTP, he might be behind the curve when it comes to learning Ana and Zen, but he just quickly closes that gap. Yeah, we'll see about Atlanta. They're obviously quite a good team right now. They have a great roster, so we will see. Why do you think esports have such short careers? I mean, a lot of it is just the burnout. The way esports are structured in terms of training is very, it's difficult right now. You really have to grind quite hard. And I think what people don't understand is the health ramifications as well. The mental health side of things. When you continue something, when you do something, you're doing it with your mind, really. And when you compare, for example, an NFL player or a footballer, I'm using an EU-friendly term, to an esports player, the training for a footballer is something that's more mentally healthy. And I'm painting in very broad terms here. To an esport player, sitting at a computer, staring at a screen, not going outside, getting fresh air, getting vitamin D, not engaging in physical exercise when you are actually training, is negative for your mental health. I think it's Ecclesiastes in the Bible. One of the last verses in the book of Ecclesiastes speaks about how, like, much study maketh a man weary or whatever, but the sleep of a working man is sweet. And I think that's, like, in a nutshell, like, actually 100% true. I mean, how many of you guys are workers, computer workers, work at a computer, or writers? Sitting, it wears you out. It wears you out, but not in a good way either. I'm not saying that physical labor is always 100% better. We should all, but there are a lot of aspects of especially certain types of physical labor that will make you feel mentally healthier than what you do here. So I think, like, it's not just, the esports community is way too grind focused and there's not good leadership, not good coaching, and not good player control, like not good player quality of life stuff. I definitely agree with that 100%. But I also think it's just the nature of sitting at a computer and being competitive while sitting at your computer. It's not just that you're working a computer job, you're working a computer job and trying to beat everybody else. That's rough. That's pretty rough. So I think that's why you see a lot of player burnout. That, and also I think Overwatch as a whole hasn't been a really fun game for a while, because nothing will make people excited to play, to work as like a new hero or a new map or some balance changes. That keeps things fresh and interesting, right? People love improvement, but a new experience is fun too. But when you've had Overwatch who hasn't had those balance adjustments, who haven't had the new heroes, the new maps, the new things in 3 years, basically, that, you know, it's not it's not just about scrims. It's about, I want to just play the game on my own. It's just fun. Like, and that wasn't a thing for a long time. 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is it's like when you're scrimming twice a week or 3 times a day, you're putting in 4 to 6 hours, but then you also have a little bit of VOD review, and then you also have to train mechanics as well. And obviously the level of intensity is different, and I think a lot of players struggle with that structure. There's reason mental health issues are skyrocketing. It's not Instagram. No, but I'm sure Instagram certainly doesn't help. That's the first thing that we always talk about with our players is avoid social media. Avoid social media. It will destroy your confidence, or it will puff you up. Yeah, it is. That's a lesson that I've had to learn too many times. I had people that were, there were comments on Reddit that were, this was 7 or 8 months ago, that were BMing me about the Zen Ana composition that London played in Busan, when I wasn't even coaching London at the time. I was on the team like 2/3 of the way into the season. And then there's obviously other comments that were more pointed, more accurate, which, hurt like crazy, but yeah, that's why you just avoid it. You're wondering whether esport therapists might be a good way to improve mental health players. It's probably too expensive for esport orgs. I know Cloud9 has a therapist. I'm fairly certain. But I think depends on the size of the org for really. Some people praise you on Reddit. Of course they did. But you have to understand, like, actually somebody brought up Usain Bolt. Reading a book about him, actually. And one of the things that he said that I think is really, really true, and this sounds super selfish, but think about it. I don't coach for you guys. I don't coach for you guys. If I coach you, I do coach for you. But I don't coach for you viewers. I don't coach for people on Reddit. I don't coach for Twitter. I don't do it for you guys. I do it for myself. I enjoy it. And I do it for the people that I coach to help them. So when people praise you or criticize you on Reddit, obviously it's impossible not to have a reaction to it, but you have to remember that I'm not doing it for you. Usain Bolt talked a lot about how he used to run for the cheers and the screams of the crowd, but then he realized that in an instant they will turn to boos. Even if it's something like completely outside of your control, they don't understand the content, they will rip you apart. So you have to be like, the public is a cruel mistress. And so whenever you do something, don't do it for the fame. It's not worth, or for the praise or whatever. Do it because you enjoy what you're doing. Posture check, thank you. You should install parental controls on Hadi's PC. Never let him on Reddit. That place is vile to him. Yeah, I'm sure they're a lot nicer now. But again, if Hadi plays next game versus Boston or Gladiators and we struggle and Hadi looks bad on a couple of fights, then yeah, they're gonna flip immediately on him. It's just the nature of the things. So. Need to force them to jog 3 minutes a day. Actually, all of our players are fairly physically active. I know Hadi and Spark are out there lifting, Poco's lifting weights. Backmoon's been getting involved with, we do the Fit Gamer thing through Cloud9, which is a great organization. The things that they've been doing with a lot of the activity. I know Jack is particularly super involved in fitness. And so all of the players, Chris is an active guy, plays a lot of soccer. Obviously I'm active. That's one of my favorite things to do. Really all the players are involved in some form of physical activity or not, and I think it's really good. After you block beat in the shot game, people love them for a day. That's how it is. Doesn't coach for me, just shatter the world. Listen, I coach. So that's the funny thing though. I coach for viewers of mine that come and enjoy watching me talk about stuff. You're almost like, this is a super weird thing, so don't take this the wrong way. But consistent viewers of mine, whether it's with my VOD reviews or my Hammer Time, you're kind of like friends in a way. So in a way, I do coach for you. But what I don't coach for, the random people I don't know and will never see and just are there just to BM me, and they've never actually they don't know about my coaching. They don't know about my personality, the way I work with people, or how I work, or I don't coach for those people. You guys are on a different level though. And I think that's a fair thing to say. That's why whenever, what is the phrase? Like, it's always the best type of criticism comes from your friends. So for example, when I was trying to improve my stream quality a while ago, about a year and a half ago, I didn't put out a public poll. I polled people in my Discord who watched my stream and said, what do I need to be doing better? I need help. I need critiques. I need criticism. And the critiques and criticism were really accurate. And really, because you guys knew me. You guys knew what I enjoyed, knew what I liked to do, knew what my hiccups most of the time were. So your critiques and criticisms were accurate. But there's levels, right? There's levels, I wouldn't ask any random person out there. What do you think is the biggest tip you could give someone trying to get into tier 3 trials? You gotta be able to work on the basics of communication in terms of like calling your ultimate, calling what you want to do, being a good listener. And then obviously like you need to be 4.5 or 4.6 really. SR matters certainly on the first little hoop to jump through, because it's a good tell that you're at least mechanically awareness decent enough to be able to get to that level. You'll become Spylo's best friend. Good luck. I'm married, so you might have some competition. Everyone's gonna become Spylo's best friend. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, 4.2 is not bad. 4.2 is not bad. You'll get there. Jack looks like an esports Dana White with hair. Yeah, true. During last World Chaos Chess Champion, oh my goodness, Ian Nepomniachtchi had a mental collapse, started making stupid blunders at one point. For some fighters, he was given war to him, he was still going to what are you how you play this? Yeah, exactly. I mean, that stuff happens. It's okay. I mean, it's human nature. I don't want to say it's okay that people are rude and ugly like that, but it's not as if, you know, it's not as if that's just gonna like change, you know. So I think the one thing you can take away from it is my experience, especially back with Uprising Academy and teams that struggled before then, and obviously London, is I personally have been less likely to jump to harassment and serious black and white criticism of a player or an organization or an individual inside or outside of esports, because I understand that things can look bad even when they're beyond your control. So I think like it's made me a more empathetic person, and certainly someone who's less likely to jump to aggressive conclusions. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good skill. So it's like, hey, ouch, I got scratched on the arm. Oh man, I know how that feels, buddy. You know, I think it's a good thing to learn, if nothing else. Farewell, Amen. Amen. OW. Enjoy your studying. Okay. Let's look. Can somebody in Twitch chat link me the new patch notes, please, for Overwatch 2? I'm always terrible at finding these things. I might be able to just find it. Let's see if I can find it. I might have found it. I think I found it. Yeah, I found it. Banger. Okay, so let's take a quick look here and let's maybe talk a little bit about this. Finale's Tracer. I mean, actually, Tracer into Echo comp is probably pretty reasonable, especially if you're having a hard time getting stuff done with Genji. But I'm not so sure that it was just the Tracer that did all of that. There's just so few circumstances in which you want a Tracer. I think maybe if they're playing Echo Doom, it seems reasonable enough. I think maybe if they're playing, like, obviously a bunch of snipers, Tracer sometimes can work, but it's hard to say. Okay, thank you guys. Okay, Railgun. Is this... Okay, it's working. I don't trust OBS. Okay. Projectile width doubled. Seems legitimate. That might actually be a really, really big change. We will see. That's definitely, that might have been one of the biggest nerfs that received, is how much harder it was to like land her right click, which was really the big thing, right? Locky, thank you for the sub. Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's really weird having a nice, like, normal conversation with you where we're not like trading insults and humiliating each other, so it's making me a little bit uncomfortable. So we're gonna get back to the patch notes. And then obviously this is actually really, really big too. Again, it's don't think 1 second. Think it's a 14.7 whatever percent reduction. 14.3% reduction or whatever. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Find a new insult. Dang. I'm so washed with this, man. Like, I don't even know what to do. I don't even know how to do this anymore. Give me a I don't know. I'm so washed. Oh, I know on Locky specifically. Do you not insult your players? Oh, I'm pretty sarcastic with my players, yeah. But what's your opinion on C9 and not keeping Scarippa? Would you have liked him on London? I mean, at the time we really liked Rem. Provide was a great player, had a great track record of improving himself, and like all of his teammates had said that his mentality was a huge boon. And we thought that he was a better fit for what we wanted, but obviously, you know, that didn't work out so well. But I know I can't roast people anymore. I was gonna say something about are you a rose, because you look like a blooming idiot to me, but that's just like, that's not that good. That's not that good. We can do better than that. I'm seriously out of practice. Noah's Ark couldn't carry you? That's a good one. Yeah. I don't want to recycle any of my old ones. We have to be... Maybe you're a gripping example of human de-evolution. We're in an air, you guys. Hey, Maimon, good to see you, mate. They're in LA. I am not currently in LA, but they are in LA. Where's a good old-fashioned Spilo roast? Man, you're really pushing the buttons, aren't you? Yeah. And besides, there's nothing old-fashioned about my Spilo roast. There was energy, there was inspiration, there was like almost an artistic, poetic beauty about my delivery. It was like the stork just flew down and dropped this lovely little baby right in my lap, and it was just it was always just a sharp-edged roast every time, like a heavenly, divine blessing of pain. You gonna be in LA soon? I might visit, but I'm not planning on staying there a long time. Cope? Yeah, shut up. Yeah, shut up, Lockie. Your baby's first words are gonna be like, "Why me?" He's born in the UK and you're his father. Could not get more unlucky. Okay, so soldier damage nerf. I mean, that's pretty harsh. This makes sense considering all the DPS movement speed. This is super interesting. I'm curious to see how this is going to work out, but yeah, we'll see. There it is. Okay, I told you there's like all the you ever clean out your bathroom sink and you're like, what is that? Where did that come from? That's my roasting brain right now. You know the difference between you and the headless donkey? The donkey way. That's funny. What do you think of Titans' performance so far? I mean, I talked about it. I think Titans really played poorly, to be honest. Like, I think they've got a lot of great players. I mean, their whole roster is great players. It's just really unfortunate, to be honest. I'm sure they'll bounce back. Did you see the play-to-play? Wait, what? Path to Pro update? No, I didn't. Link it, Maimon. Soldiers doesn't make sense to me. I mean, Soldier was just so incredibly fast with the speed thing. But yeah, this is interesting. This was interesting. We will see. They didn't touch Healing Station was the most broken thing about Soldier? I don't think so. I think Healing Station is actually quite balanced. I think if he actually gets dove, it doesn't do anything. It helps him in 1v1s, which is what the hero needs to be good at, is 1v1s, for him to be relevant. I think it's okay. I'll check it in a second, thank you. Okay, Sombra, movement speed reduced. This is an odd change. I respect it. I think it's probably something that at some point need to happen, but I'm surprised this wasn't coincided by another buff elsewhere, because she's just not a strong hero right now. Hog, this is super weird. I respect it, but it's super weird. My problem with this is I think Hog is a trash tier character. I think Hog and Moira are the worst heroes in Overwatch in terms of like actual character design. The character needs a rework. He is an annoying one-dimensional hero. He creates space by simply being the fact that he can kill you with one shot. That's it. That's his threat, right? I hate that. I do not like the fact that this may be it's certainly going to be a buff. This hero does not deserve buffs. This hero deserves buffs when they've actually reworked him. I get it, he's a bad hero right now, but he deserves to be bad. Keep him bad until they've actually fixed him. That's just my take on it. I think he's a trash hero. Did you miss? I was trying to help you with the insult thing. I must have missed. I have my little phone here. An insult in Polish is a colloquial verb, zawaniak, which would be to Ivan. So stereotypical to Russian, which means to steal. Oh, yeah, that sounds messy. I'm going to steer clear of that one. Bradley OW, you should be ashamed of yourself. Tessa Cannon, this is a great change. This is really, really good. I mean, I would say you could even go lower than this, but I respect it. This is definitely something that I specifically actually asked for in stream not too long ago, but it wasn't just me. A lot of players are asking for this. Weird, to be honest. Just really, really weird. I mean, it's just weird. I don't really know. I don't know. Would you say Moira is a strong character? No, she's not bad, but because the nature of Overwatch 2 actually encourages a support that can survive. But yeah, she's not strong. Okay, I guess. I mean, I don't think. Sure, it's fine. Insta killing with Roadhog's new ult. Yeah, I saw a couple of them. Okay, that makes sense. This is actually reasonable enough. Maybe this is a little too much, but I understand. Fine, sure. This seems reasonable to me. Actually, this seems pretty reasonable. Nice little quality of life change. I think it's like it makes Grenade a little bit less oppressive, but also like gives her some more utility. Like a little some more quality of life stuff. Yeah, Dolos, 100% agreed. I think Hog is such a lazy hero design. I mean, I'm not no trashing to Blizzard. He's just a very outdated hero design. Because if you think Symmetra, Torbjorn, all really kind of cruddy heroes, but they reworked them, and Hagen has just remained lame for years. Super weird, man. Super weird, man. Like super weird. I think this in particular is the big one, and then obviously the knockback is pretty interesting as well. The damage is certainly relevant, but it's the HP, the 225 HP Zenyatta is a big deal. I think that might change meta a little bit. And then this is kind of strange as well. A little bit more oomph to your shield bash, which is fine. So who knows? Maybe we see a little more Brig Zen. Maybe we see a little more Zen. We'll see. I don't really want to talk too much about my meta reads on this, but I think like this seems reasonable. This is okay. Weird, good, really weird. Fine. A little weird, but reasonable. Seems reasonable. So mostly good patch notes. I think I just questioned some of the Hog things in particular, like why Zen on a meta coming? Yeah, sure. Okay, Path to Pro status. Let's see what we got here. Is this recent? Oh, this is really recent. I'm always terrible at like reading through things like this and like actually like tournament stuff because I just can't be bothered, man. Okay, Summer Series, cool. Competing for cash prizing, potentially be noticed by Overwatch League scouts, nice. North America, Europe, South Korea, and Australia. Cool. So basically, am I missing this? My moan, let me know if I'm missing this, but it just basically looks like a big tournament. Like basically a summer tournament essentially, where like a lot of the regions are gonna have the opportunity to play against each other at some point. Yeah, I respect that as well, Dolos, yeah. But I mean, obviously anything for contenders, like even if it's like crumbs at this point, it's like, all right, thank you, I guess. you know, whatever works. You know, what do you think supports need in Overwatch 2? I don't think they need much. I hope Overwatch the Blizzard team remains very hesitant with how they buff supports, because I think a lot of support mains are kind of whiners and are not adjusting well. I do think the supports are weak, probably weaker than they need to be. I think the recent changes to like how fast they heal over time was a good one. I think a little bit of love here and there for some of the weaker supports is definitely needed as well. But I think it's just going to take some time to adjust. I think a lot of people are overreacting a little bit. They're playing the trials in Overwatch 1 to get contenders in Overwatch 2. Interesting. But yeah. Top 32 is OD contenders. Or top 32 is OD. Interesting. Okay. Do you guys have any last questions? Because I'm going to end stream in just a second. I'm actually going to host Tickety, who looks like he's doing some AL analysis. Give him a shout out. He's doing Boston versus Vancouver, which should be a really interesting game as well. That game was really quite close. If those people in our Overwatch could read, they'd be very upset. I mean, I think even the casuals have been relatively like, hey, like let's calm down now. It's not the end of the world, you know. When's the next stream? I'm not sure. So to be perfectly honest with you guys, full mode of transparency, y'all. I've struggled with streaming, obviously because of the time restraints. Overwatch League is a very demanding schedule, and I have a lot of other things that I do IRL that keep me busy. But my biggest problem with streaming, because I wouldn't even mind streaming once every week, once every 2 weeks, just a short stream, whatever. I think I just have fun chatting with you guys. But I often struggle to know what to talk about sometimes. So I needed ideas. I got some ideas from Anima, one of my mods, talking about like, you could talk about the patch notes, you could talk about the game. I think those are always low-hanging fruit. But I really need suggestions about like what we stream here, because I obviously can't do Overwatch League analysis. And also I don't really have the time right now or opportunity to do VOD reviews. Maybe we'll do like a VOD review. Maybe I'll have like, you guys can, because you can't do replay codes anymore, but maybe one of you guys can like record a VOD and send in a VOD of Overwatch 2 and maybe I'll coach it. I'm not really sure. I need ideas. So if you guys have any ideas, don't put them in Twitch chat. Join the Discord, put them in general, and even ping me if you want. And I'll like bookmark it or screenshot or something to remember later on. So I can remember like some ideas for the next stream, because I honestly would love to do short streams every now and then, but I never quite know exactly what to do because so many things are off the table right now. Why does Sparker wear a neck pillow? Because he's a complete psychopath. Anything that Sparker does, my cat wants to be held. Anything that Sparker does is just because he's an absolute psychopath. One of the funniest tweets I saw was from John Overwatch, where he said something about like devious, and he's like twiddling his fingers. It's like the creepiest picture I've ever seen in my life. Should we open a text channel at Discord for stream? Yeah, sure. If you want to, that's fine. Hammer time, Sag. Yeah. I mean, maybe next time we'll do Hammer time. What is the difference between coaching contenders and Al? And Al, the in-person thing is a huge deal. That's probably the biggest difference, is being able to coach in person. But yeah, maybe we could do some Hammer time next time. That's something that we could do. But yeah, thoughts on the illegal maneuver? I mean, I'm gonna play the diplomat here. I understand. I understand both sides, to be perfectly honest, because like it's pretty clear that like in the past that those kind of plays have never been allowed. But I can also very easily see how people could be ignorant of that because the rule book isn't very clear. I knew that those things weren't allowed, but that's because I've previously experienced or seen situations where that has been done and been illegal. Gunba hasn't been in this scene in forever. And to be honest with you, it wasn't very common knowledge. So I really see both sides. I see why they were forced to replay, but I think more than anything, it kind of shines poorly on Blizzard's communication / rule booking, the fact that people were unaware of it. I think it's very fair of Paris. I don't even think Paris asked for the replay. I think for Paris, it's definitely frustrating because that's not allowed. You're not supposed to do that. And that was a big advantage. But I can also see for Florida, you're like, well, I mean, how are we supposed to know this? You know what I'm saying? But yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to see you guys in a little bit. I'm going to toss a host to Tickety. Jump in the Discord and offer you suggestions of what you think we should go over maybe next time. And I will see you guys later. Spilo out if this works. Yes.